Everyone, this is update for January 10, 2023, days 321 of the war and of the date update. So today I'm just gonna jump pretty much straightforward to the military situation. You saw I posted update on the community board. It's definitely not good news for Ukrainian side. Mm, and but before I jump there, I just want to mention a little bit about the Archer. So Archer is confirmed. The only question, how many of those and when, obviously, which are important questions, obviously. And, even small number is going to be, I would say, in the right hands is extremely dangerous weapon. The when is another big question. The advantage of the Archer, and I would say this is probably one of the best uh, artillery systems out there. The only reason why it's the best is because it's being sort of designed and built accordingly to the current level of technology, and it's not being designed and built in sort of 70s and then upgraded through 80s, 90s, and 2000s. That's why it's one of the best. Panzerhaubitze 2000 is sort of very close equivalent. Problem with Panzerhaubitze 2000, I mentioned this many times before, is reliability and actually quality of manufacturing, and potentially, I didn't do the study, potentially flaws in engineering that lead to problems with reliability. So you really need to do sort of kind of like anatomy of the system, really dissect everything to really determine the root causes. But there is clearly the problem with them. This is actually being even admitted by the German government, German army. I think only like third of them are operational for various reasons. So going back to Archer, so why Archer is so great is because it's essentially, you press the button and then you're shooting in 30 seconds. So basically, the truck comes wherever it needs to come, press the button, you don't do anything, and it's ready to shoot at the target in 30 seconds, as I said, and extremely high rate of fire. I think it's 21 shots or shells in 90 seconds. So it's less than five seconds. And it actually can do 21 because most of the howitzers, they can do 2, 3. So like very short bursts. And then, then you need to reload. Then the rate of fire slows down tremendously. What this one can do, it can sustain for the probably longest period of time, more than actually Panzerhaubitze 2000, this extremely high rate of fire. It also allows to shoot sort of unguided shells, so just kind of like regular dumb shells that most of the armies have, pretty much in the same area, which allows you to kind of like even with the sort of dumb shells to have nearly 100% guarantee of destroying the target, as long as your coordinates are correct. So and then putting and then after that, the system can quickly sort of change position again in 30 seconds, and it's gone. So as I said, extremely excellent piece of equipment, uh, built up to the modern technology. Could be extremely dangerous in the right hands and can really do sort of miracles in a way. The only problem with it is, again, there's no UAV attached to it. So in order to know where to shoot, you need to see the enemy's rear, and without that, any well, I guess you can shoot sort of at the front line, but the most sort of juicy targets are never on the front line; they behind. So again, whether organization it will be used correctly, I remain extremely skeptical about it. Then you probably hear a lot of sort of announcements that this country or that country is considering sending some more advanced pieces of equipment. and this is becoming, as I said before, probably a week ago or more, that it's becoming clear to the West that Ukraine, sort of limitations of Ukrainian command and general leadership in the country, and as a result, inability to achieve anything without exceeding technological advance and significantly exceeding. So not just even that's not going to work. You really need significantly exceed Russian forces technologically, which is not going to be easy because there is, they still produce, tanks. They still produce fighter jets and all of that. So, rockets. So, where this potentially may lead, if eventually Ukraine gets that technological advantage and significant over the Russian forces, they actually may prompt the Russian side to use tactical nuclear weapons as a sort of trump card. So that's where I see real possibility of, as I said, using tactical nuclear weapons to sort of to bring the balance of power in Russian favor again. So that's a situation in terms of how things are developing in terms of equipment, military strategy, and so on. Now let's actually move to Ukraine. Situation with the grid is the same. No Russian attacks. The grid is under stress because the temperatures dropped in Ukraine, and that obviously puts grid under additional stress on its own. It's probably not gonna sort of collapse. There was significant amount of repairs done during this quiet time. They obviously not sort of real repairs for the most part. It's a band-aid type of repairs, but nevertheless it helps to stabilize the system that's in coma effectively. Now let's actually walk through the front line. We're gonna do it in clockwise fashion as always, starting from very north. So the situation along the state border is on the sort of quieter side. No significant sort of exchanges of all sort of hostile activities there. Now let's jump to North Lugansk front line. Things here in some way almost quieting down on both sides. There was Russian attack here in direction of Kupiansk that failed. Otherwise, it's fairly quiet here. Now let's look at North Donbass front line, where things are really not going well for Ukraine. So essentially, Ukraine lost most of the Soledar. If you really think about Soledar, it's like extremely stretched, kind of like thin line. So it starts here, this road where you see like where it says Bakhmutske, and it kind of like goes all the way to this road that you can see here north of Blagodatna. So that's just kind of like one long urban area. The sort of the most important part is the one that's sort of a little bit tilted towards the west. If you kind of like take sort of bisect this, so a little bit towards the west where the Russian troops are here. So let me actually show what's happened. So this was I think yesterday when I was showing that Russian troops were essentially attacking the core of the city, right? So this is salt mine 1-3 here. This is salt mine 4. This is salt mine number 7. Used to be number 1. Not sure where the other ones 5 and 6. But the point is, Ukrainian defenses collapsed pretty quickly, and there was no stiff resistance. Russian troops managed to get control. This is key height that kind of controls the area around town here. So they gain control of that key height, and then they essentially captured this city center core here, and then they advanced there towards this salt mine 1-3, and then towards number 4. So there are some obviously it's there are some reports on the Russian side that not all Ukrainian troops retreated, that there are some pockets of resistance. impossible to determine really situation on the ground. Very likely there are some isolated pockets of resistance of Ukrainian troops, but majority of the troops are essentially withdrawing and forming new front line. That's the key points here is this railroad station Sil, which translates as salt. So essentially, that's why I'm saying that this is Soledar is really long place. It starts a little bit like in the south, was it eastern direction here. Basically, goes like this. The Koinsk, that's another station. That's part of Soledar. Then this whole part, and it almost gets to basically this road here. This is still technically Soledar. Technically, this is still Soledar. So if you really kind of like, from Ukrainian propaganda, they may say, well, we're still holding on to Soledar. Okay, technically they might be right because Ukrainian troops are still in control of this urban area around station Sil, which Soledar. Basically, that's a main station that pulls supply from all of this salt mines, and then it loads there on the sort of the trains that go like long distance trains essentially. So that's kind of like a key station here in the town, and essentially then looks like the salt mine number 7 will be another stronghold for Ukrainian defense. And then eventually it will be along this railroad line, which is natural sort of good defensive position. It's very clear, it's becoming very clear that the problem is obviously in organization and the command of Ukrainian side. There was actually a couple days ago, I think a head of Ukrainian land forces visited Soledar, had a meeting with the commanders, and that's a result of that meeting. This tells you a lot. And as I said before, this strategy, tactics, this organization, Wagner Group, is simply better because Ukrainian soldiers are generally disempowered in the Soviet army, and Wagner Group is extremely entrepreneurial organization. It's sort of evil entrepreneurship, but it works for evil purposes, right? It doesn't know good or bad. It just works in the hands of whoever understands it and owns it. And so that's just really what's happening here in this area. And this is not the end. This is the beginning. Let's put it this way. So because I can guarantee you. So now let's just move a little bit. More around Bakhmut, that there will be no changes in Ukraine at the Ukrainian top, because Ukrainian top incompetent, but it doesn't want to change, right? Because otherwise, what are they gonna do? There's nothing for them. They're not able to really be productive. Well, they're not productive, but basically they cannot live in competitive, productive world. So they will hold on to this, to clinch to their powers for as long as they possible. In the process, they will take a lot of Ukrainian lives with them. So beyond that, that's just key focus here. There are some distraction attacks east of Bakhmut. There is also some advance of Wagner mercenaries in Klishchiivka, which is another key defensive position for Ukraine. They didn't capture Klishchiivka, but there are some advances there, which seem to be credible. So essentially, as you can imagine, the next move is to push Klishchiivka from Kordyumivka towards Ivanivske, and continue pushing here north of Bakhmut, and essentially do something, what Russian side is kind of did in Soledar, is basically outflanking and either creating some kind of small encirclement or just forced withdrawal, which is because, as I said, most of the Ukrainian troops were forced to withdraw from the situation. So the hands were forced, and that's just what it is. Now let's move to central Donbass front line. Things here are sort of unchanging in many ways. Attacks out of the Pesky salient, that looks like unsuccessful completely. Similar situation in Marinka, Russian troops are bogged down, and then Russian command is basically seeking weak point in this whole area from Novomikhailivka to Velika Novosilka. Essentially, they want to penetrate somewhere here. Soledar is out of question. It's just simply suicidal attack. They learned it hard way by capturing Pavlivka. That didn't lead to anything. They attacked Novomikhailivka without success. Velika Novosilka. So now they're trying their hope here. More likely than not, they will not succeed here because there is a huge difference between Russian regular troops and Wagner mercenaries. Because if you compare, regular Russian troops and Ukrainian troops, at least there is a higher motivation at the individual soldier level in Ukrainian army as opposed to Russian. Sorry for that. That's the situation in central Donbass front line. Now let's just quickly check Zaporizhya, and here things are quiet, no updates here. Thanks for watching, and until tomorrow, bye bye.